Hi everybody, welcome to the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. I'm your host Jordan Kurtz. I'm here with a very special guest today, the world-renowned Dustin Jacoby. How you doing today, Dustin?
I'm doing good, man. Thanks for having me on your podcast. I've had, we did the Team Why I Fight series talk, and I did that. You published it, and some of the guys were wanting a little bit more, and I figured I would take the opportunity. I know you've asked me before to come on, so to get on your podcast and talk a little bit about who I am, what I do, and whatever else we have to talk about.
Absolutely, man. I really appreciate it. You can't meet a more friendly guy. Like, you're the guy who everybody wants in the room. I feel like in that way, just because that smile right there, ladies and gentlemen, that you see, like, there's two different people, too, as well, for that matter. There's the Hanyak, and then there's Jacoby.
Right. Yeah, absolutely, man. First of all, thank you very much. It is cool to hear that, and I try to always be positive, and I'm a guy that I have a lot of energy, and if I'm not in a good mood or in a bad mood, I have that energy too. And if I'm 9 times out of 10 catch me in a good mood, I'm bring that energy to the table too. So, but of course, the Hanyak is a contracted killer. He's the guy that signs the dotted line to go out there and do what he has to do. I've been in this sport I had my first amateur fight in July of 2008. I was still playing college football. Then I turned pro in November of 2010, and by October 2011, I was in the UFC. So I've been in this game 10 years now, and I've recently started reading this book. Coach has kind of put me on. We did The Power of a Positive Team, and then The Subtle Art of No Fucks Given. I believe is the title. I might have twisted it up, but I believe that's the title.
I think it's The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck.
The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck. Okay.
Yeah.
And anyway, so Coach got me hooked on that, and I do the Audible book where I read them.
Mm-hmm.
And today I listened to the Choose Your Struggle part. And I've heard Coach say that before, but it never really hit with me in a sense of there's some days I don't want to come in here, and I've been doing it 10 years, man. I've been grinding, and I've had some injuries the past few years that have really slowed me down, unfortunately, completely out of my hands. I had to take all of 2018 off because my arm just was not cooperating with me during training. And what the Choose Your Struggle really grabbed onto me is, I could go out and do something else, but whatever I do, nothing comes easy, and it's going to be a struggle, whether I go work a 9 to 5, a desk job, an awesome job, an office job, and I could go out and make, a lot of money doing that, but then the struggle would be getting up and going to this office and putting in the work 9 to 5 and not leaving that cubicle and that's not me, man. I'm gonna find something when I'm done with this. I'll find something to where I never work a day in my life. I'll work and I'll make money doing something, but it's got to be something I love and I'm out doing and enjoy. That's where I gotta choose my struggle. And right now my struggle is getting in here and training and getting back to the UFC, which I'm coming for and I'm gonna be. So that's later on down the road. But choose your struggle, man. I'm choosing the struggle to come in here and train and get through the grind and sweating, and that also chooses the struggle to eat properly, eat healthy, and to lift weights and take care of my body. So those are the struggles that I choose, man, and it really resonated with me after listening to the book, and I will probably go back a couple times a year and always listen, maybe reread the whole book, but listen to that part. Choose your struggle, man, to keep me focused and on the grind.
Definitely. So let's rewind it for just a second here, Dustin. Former college football quarterback.
Yeah, watching Thursday night football right here, man.
Thursday night football right
big
here.
Football guy, but go ahead.
Yeah, so just kind of talk to us about, what made you transition from football then into MMA, what got you to this point? You mentioned that you've been beating this path for a decade now. What really kicked that into motion?
Let's see. So I was in high school. I'm also a firm believer in everything happens for a reason. We were really good as a team. I was really good as a player. My senior year, I tore my MCL, my PCL, my LCL, and a partial ACL. And I had a lot of big schools looking at me, and I had contracts, scholarships taken away, and then other schools lose interest. And of course, you know, I'm naive at the time. I'm a young kid. I want to play right away. I'm invincible. I was always invincible. When I talk about my pride speech, there's a few things I left out in that, and I think pride definitely comes with maturity. And as a younger cat, you know, I always meant well, but I bet, you know, I probably was on the more cocky side. I think that was one thing that happened in my life that really, really humbled me. And then it drove me to Culver Stockton College, where I met my wife today. And, you know, we've been together 10 plus years. And so everything happens to reason. But how I got into fighting was while playing college football, my twin brother hit me up one day, and he's like, dude, I'm getting in a fight. And my brother, he's a badass. He's known for fighting. At least not so much anymore, man. We're 31. If you're not fighting professionally, I mean, you got something wrong with you, you know? I know shit happens, but we're getting old, man. So he's got 3 little girls, but he's a badass, dude. He'd always get in fights, so I was like, what do you mean you're getting in a fight? He's like, no, dude, I'm going into a cage, I'm putting gloves on, and I'm fighting this guy. And I'm like, what the hell? So I have my laptop, I'm in college, I get on Google, and I Googled MMA and cage fighting, and it's like, boom, opened up a whole world. And I went to a few of his, and I hopped in and had my first amateur fight in the summer of one of my, between my years of college. It was after my sophomore year of college, and had my first amateur fight that my brother signed me up for. And the rest is history, man. I finished my last 2 years playing football, but all my teammates knew me as a quarterback that was now this badass that, you know, knocked people out. They're like, okay, DJ, and I had a lot of friends that still follow me to this day, and which I'm very thankful for, man. I have a huge support cast, a huge support system. I know a lot of great people. I've crossed paths with so many awesome people in life, and I'm still continuing to do so, even at, you know, my old age at 31.
Oh, yeah. Well, I can only imagine that your offensive lineman had to want to just go to war for you, knowing that, hey, our quarterback's a fucking G.
Yeah, man, I think so. I mean, I did. I was the guy that I wasn't running out of bounds. I was fighting for every yard. I wanted to win, man. The only thing, I hate losing. I want to win. So, and that's another thing. College was rough. The first few years in college, I started my redshirt freshman year on up into the rest of the years I played. The rest of the 4 years, and dude, our team was not that good, and our O-line, God, I love you guys, we weren't the best, and I got beat up back there, but I was fighting for every yard, and yeah, I think they respected that, you know.
Definitely. So, you know, to speak to the long path that you've had in this game, you have roots that date all the way back to the legendary Hit Squad.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, you know, as a veteran of the game, just kind of take us through your journey and just, you know, share those words of wisdom that everybody's asking more of.
Man, the Hit Squad was something special. Met so many great people, so many real badass fighters. The first one, every time, all the time. My boy Brian Foster, love you, buddy. The most badass of badasses that I've known. The first guy that I looked up to, like, damn, like, this is what really real fighting is. Like, this guy, you know, I was just always, I was big, physical, talented, very, very athletic, and we'd always box, and I was quick to punch. I had power, man. I knocked out everybody as an amateur, other than my one boy, Quarter Stitt, that ended up beating me. But I didn't really know how to fight, man, until I went to the Hit Squad, and I saw guys like Brian and Robbie Lawler, and, of course, our legendary Matt Hughes, and all led by our coach, Matt Veach, who I recently just started talking to. Dude is a badass. I could go on and on. Jeremiah Riggs, Cortez Coleman, Randy Fuentes, his brother, Joe Bunch, man. Neil Magny was back there. Neil Magny and I were partners, main partners, like every day, man. Just on and just straight killers. And it really taught me how to fight. We were all led by the legendary Mark Fiore, man. Shout out to Mark. Love you, dude. Guy responsible for getting me into the UFC and helping me early in my career, and still keep in touch. You're awesome, man. And wrestling to MMA, damage to MMA, there's no one better than Mark Fiore. And it was just surrounded by those killers every day, and everybody wanted to be there for Matt Hughes, you know, from all over the world. We had dorms that we lived in, and it was like it was an old military base. and 100 yards away from the military base were these dorms. And guys from Turkey, Slovakia, I mean, just all over, European guys, left and right, come in to train with the one and only Matt Hughes, and we lived in those dorms, and we grinded 2 or 3 times a day, and it was just something special, and unfortunately it didn't quite last long enough, and I got there, 2009, I think, is when I got there. It had already been established since probably 2006-ish, somewhere in there, 2007. And then shortly after I came up, I had my last amateur fight competing at the Hit Squad. I turned pro, man, and I'm fighting just, two wins into my pro career, and Coach Fiore's like, we need to get you a passport. He just knew that I was well on my way, fast tracking. And then right when I got signed by the UFC, just before I got signed by the UFC, the gym kind of broke up. Hughes was out of it. They eliminated his name. It was towards the end of his career. And Coach Fiore ended up opening up a gym in Springfield, Illinois. And my wife and I, girlfriend at the time, had just moved down to Wood River, and we just got our own place. And I was doing this full time. I'm like, you know what? I left school after my senior year, and I just went down and started training. Jeff Cox, Paul Reynolds, Jason Worth, those guys were responsible for getting me to the Hit Squad, man. Thank you very much. Helped me so much in the beginning, boosted my career, still my boys to this day. And then the Hit Squad kind of broke up. I stayed because we just moved there, and Coach Binke, another unbelievable mentor I've had in my life, came in and kind of took over and started adding a lot of Brazilians to the team. And he was Brazilian, but it was all taken over by Jesse Finney, who had his own gym, Finney's in St. Louis, and then it became Finney's Hit Squad, and I stayed for a little bit, but just the loyalty I had, and I was so torn, man. It was the worst thing that could have happened to my career, because right when I got to the big show, it all got ripped from me. A month before I'm fighting in the UFC, I'm training like I'm not even at a real gym. My loyalty, I went with Coach Fiore. It still breaks my heart. I had to leave Binke to this day because he was just so positive for me, and I wish that team could have stayed together. There's no doubt in my mind, had it, I would have been in the UFC. I would have stayed in the UFC. Back then, it was different, man. The UFC was way different than it is now. It's just another reason I deserve my spot back. But that's later on down the road. It just wasn't meant to be, man. It broke up right when I needed it the most, and then I traveled all over, and then that's how I ended up eventually here.
Okay.
So the Hit Squad, man, it's just so special. I can't say enough about it. It was just so special, and to this day, we have Factory X, and it's phenomenal in here, and it's a killer team. There's not a facility I've ever walked in to this day that I've loved more than that Hit Squad. Everything about it was just like, holy shit, man, this is what a real fucking gym looks like. And, oh, man, it was crazy. It was awesome, dude. It's something I'll remember forever. But a lot of great guys. John Matson, sorry, buddy, left you out. And my mind's racing thinking of all of my homies, man, the core group of guys. And, I brought Foster here, Cortez here, all led by Chris. And, yeah, it's cool.
So, you mentioned that with Chris right there alone. I mean, that was one of your early fights within your career. You fought Chris Camozzi, obviously the Factory X OG. Mm-hmm. And then eventually, came out here. How did that all? Was Chris a big factor in you eventually coming to Factory X, or how did you get to Denver? I guess.
So Chris was definitely a factor. How I got to Denver, what a lot of people don't know is I was born and raised here in Fort Morgan, Colorado. Okay. Eastern Colorado. And we grew up here and lived here until 9 weeks into 6th grade. I was 12, 13 years old. And then my mom met my stepfather, and he was from Illinois, and met him out here. He had family in both. And met him, and we went from Morgan. I did 5th grade in Wiggins and started 6th grade, and then we moved to Illinois. Which at the time, when I was a kid, I loved it, man. We vacationed there a couple times, and I'm free-spirited, I go with the flow, and we made the most of it, and everything happens for a reason, and I couldn't have asked for a better place to grow up. The small town experiences, feels that we had at our high school and our group of friends, who the core group is still a power group to this day. And then 5-6 years ago, in July of 2014, my wife and I moved back. So I think the biggest reason I got out here was because of my roots. I still had family out here. But yeah, so Chris and I fought UFC 137. It was Diaz versus GSP. GSP had to pull out. It was Diaz versus BJ Penn. Chris and I were at the poster signings together. He just seemed like a cool dude, and we just hit it off right away. We were just talking. I met Mark. We were like doing some cutting weights together. And at the time, my boy Foster, he'd already been through it all. He's like, man, don't be getting too close to that guy. You guys are going to fight each other. And, Foster's just a fucking warrior, man. Don't be getting too close to that guy. You're going to fight each other. He's gotten a little soft at his older age. You should have met a 25-year-old Foster. That kid was fucking mean. And so I didn't. And Coach is like Fiore. He's like, dude, shut up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. And Brian's like, I'm telling you. Well, we both lost that night. Chris lost to Francis Carmount. I lost to Clifford Starks. And we exchanged numbers. We kept in touch. And sure as shit, man, like 3 months later, October, November, 2 months later, whatever it was, UFC calls. They're like, hey, Chris Camozzi. And like I said, back to the Hanyak, he's a contracted killer. I signed the dotted line. I choose my struggle. My struggle is to train and compete. And so we both, and Chris is no different. Both signed the dotted line, fought each other at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. And it's funny because before the fight, I remember saying, I've told Chris this, like, if I can't beat Chris Camozzi, I don't belong in the UFC. And at the time, I truly meant that. But after going toe-to-toe with Chris, it was apparent the guy is way better than I even imagined. And then he went on a run after that and, had 20 UFC fights, won like 6 in a row. So the guy's a fucking badass. And, to have that hard fight with him, that's another piece of me that made me the fighter I am today. I was young then, And so that's how we ended up here. What I was going to say, too, is at the United Center, man, if that went to a decision, I promise you politics would have played a role, and I would have won that fucking decision. Just because I'm the hometown, I'm the Illinois boy, man. They would have given it to me. But hats off to Chris. He did a beautiful sweep that led to a 10-figure guillotine. Just awesome move. But that's how I ended up here, man. After that, I was so devastated and couldn't believe it and crushed. And I remember Chris a couple times, and I ran into him. He's like, dude, come out with us. He's like, come hang out. And I wanted to, but I'm like, fuck that, man. Like, this is everything I wanted. I had a feeling I was going to get cut. Back then, it was, it was tough to stay. And back then, it wasn't like it is now. Now it's WWE. It's like you throw just make people, like, stand up and clap and but pay their dues to watch it, man. Back then, it was like, if you're a striker, you're going against a wrestler. Especially now, of course, if you crack the top 10, you got to fight who you got to fight. But, dude, I can go in there. I'm fucking on another level now, and I could fight these kickboxing guys and be knocking these guys out and making this money. And I'm going to, man. I'm going to. But that's how I ended up here, and that's where we're at today.
I mean, you can knock out heavyweights, too, for that matter.
I can, man, and I do. There's no doubt I have the power to knock out anybody. So, although those UFC heavyweights, man, I don't want to get touched by those guys.
That's definitely some heat. You know what I mean? But you again, though, you've proven yourself against a UFC former vet in Cody East.
My very last fight. Yeah, my third one of the night. Yeah.
God, quite possibly, if any of you out there can find this footage online from the King of Sparta heavyweight tournament, might possibly be the bloodiest fight that you've ever watched.
Bloodiest fight I've been a part of for sure. That hadn't got stopped. It just kept going, and now it's kind of out there. I didn't say too much about it, but man, I got kicked in like the 10 seconds into the second round and broke my fibula in my leg, and I knew it was broke. I felt it crack. Again, choose my struggle, man. It's choosing my struggle.
Mm-hmm.
But I felt it. And if that hadn't happened, I would have finished that fight. I sensed the blood. I was like a shark in the water. But I couldn't spring. I didn't have the spring. I was just like, God, dude, fast forward the time. I'm just keep jabbing him, get out of here, collect my money, get the wins, and get on.
But keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, this was fight number 3 of the night.
Yep.
After already recording the KO in the boxing match, and then in the kickboxing match against the tried and true vet in Tony Lopez. Just one of the most freakish flying knees that just saw someone collapse it was an elevator collapse. Much respect to Tony Lopez. He's a grizzled vet. But, I mean, as soon as you connected with that knee, he literally just straight up like collapsed. It was like an elevator falling down the shaft.
It was certainly a career highlight moment, and again, I don't want to talk about myself too much, but I was certainly happy of it. I was certainly proud of it, and it was just a fight ago. It was my last performance, man. I feel like ever since I broke my arm the second time, ever since I fought, I went on a 5-fight win streak in Glory, and I fought killers, man. You want to go back, look at my Glory record, look at the people I fought. The guys that I went toe to toe with for rounds, like, dude, it's unreal. I'm surprised sometimes when I look back and see that, and to think I went 3 rounds to this guy, I went 3 rounds to that guy. I was 4-3-1 and fighting the number 1 guy in the world, Daniel Lunga, 52-4, and I had him. It was a split decision, man. I beat him the first round, and his veteran fucking kickboxing skills just took over, and I went on that 5-fight win streak. I fought Simon Marcus twice, the best in the world, man. When you lock horns with a true, someone like that, not many people have done that, so you don't know what I'm talking about. But the people that have to lock horns with a guy like that, dude, it's just so inspiring and just like, it brings the best out of you. And what I'm trying to get at is that just happened recently. And ever since I fought him, man, I came out and a teammate, Sean Choice, I fought him my next fight back, and I broke my arm 20 seconds into that fight. But, dude, I was such a beast. Like, another pro moment I'm so proud of, a career highlight moment where I freaking threw flying knees, and I just was on point everywhere. And then I break my arm, and I have to take all of 2018 off. And then my next fight, I come out and I box this heavyweight, and I put him out in 48 seconds. And I kickbox this grizzly vet that's fucking big and has never been knocked out. And I have a highlight knockout. And then I fight this UFC vet that gets cut because of domestic violence or whatever, and I didn't even because of performance, and I'm off the floor with him, man. And I say that in a humble way. I mean, he's just a big, good guy, 15-3, whatever he was, and I did it to him, man. So I know what I bring to the table. I deep down, man, fighting is something that when I got thrown in the UFC early, I wasn't ready. I'd never been taken down. I'd never thrown an elbow. I wasn't ready. But the wars I've been through and the pieces that have been ripped from me and that I've ripped from them make me who I am. And when I step in there, dude, like, there's no doubt in my mind, like, it's set to kill, And that's where the Hanyak comes. He's a crazy guy, man, a contracted killer. But Jacoby, dude, I'm laid back, but I'm fucking competitive. So we can be friends, but if there's something on the line, especially when it's a way to how I pay my bills and how I make money and how I am able to do the things that I love to do, it's a whole nother meaning. It's a whole new ballgame.
Definitely. So as you're mentioning, you're wanting this shot at redemption. There are rumors kind of swirling around out there that they're bringing back the Ultimate Fighter coming into next year. What if they were to do that as some sort of like a redemption sort of season, like James Krause was on? Would that be something that you would entertain? Or, because I know it's a very polarizing thing with doing the whole Ultimate Fighter.
I don't mind any of that. I think going out there, I could go. I don't mind any of that. It's look, I guess 7 weeks, whatever it is, in Vegas, hanging out, and I know we're training the whole time. I saw it on the coaching side, but I don't mind that. What I mind is the fact that I would come in, and I guess if it was kind of a redemption thing. See, here's the thing: the Ultimate Fighter, they put you in contracts, and you get locked in contracts. I want to get to UFC. If I have to go out and beat this next dude, whoever it is, by the way, any 205er out there, let's get something lined up at the end of this month, next month, something, man. Let's get it done so I can get my win and I can get signed again. But I don't want to get stuck in a bullshit contract when I've already paid my dues. I was making good money with Glory, and I would like to, obviously I'm not going to come to UFC and demand shit. I want to earn it. But I also have built a value to my name that I don't want to get stuck in some bullshit contract. So to answer your question, I would be open to it, but same thing with this Dana White Fight Contender Series shit. I'd be open to it, but then I don't want the contract that comes with that, because I've paid my dues elsewhere. I want a standard contract that comes in, and I come do my shit, I knock out 3 people, and then we re-up and make some money.
Right. And that's what I was aiming toward, was that end as far as the contractual side, because you, who has been around the game for a long time, you're very keen to those little ends of the business that most people may not take into account.
Absolutely, and here's another thing, man, that I want to say out there. UFC, Dana White, Mick Maynard, all you guys watching, I think it's awesome that the athletes are more of the products. They're you see them in the booth. I'm a well-spoken guy. I get it. I get perspective, and I get what you're looking for. And now, to be a part of the UFC, it's awesome because the athletes are just so much more than just the guys fighting. Mm-hmm. And I'm so much more than just a fighter. In fact, I'm way more of things out here than I am of a fighter. But this fighter, this Hanyak, has been created. And he's struggled too long. He's invested too much time to not be here. And I feel like I bring value to your company in a sense of being a broadcast guy, getting out there and inspiring people and motivating people, talking where you need me to talk. I just want to be a bit more. I know I'm capable of more. I want to be more. And I think that's really cool that the UFC is allowing the athletes to be more of the product. And I want to be that, man. I want to, fight twice a year, but yet be on all these different shows and help spread the game and in a sense of from an athlete's point of view and so I can relate to so many different people, man. So that's another reason I want back in, because now there's more to the job than just fighting, and there needs to be a job after fighting. And I want to get into broadcasting. I want to get into some kind of like sport management or calling. Calling fights or whatever it may be, man. I just want to get the most out of this career and out of my struggle.
Definitely. Well, I can say from firsthand experience, you do a great job commentary-wise. You're just a natural calling the action out there. For those who haven't followed along or haven't seen, Dustin and I both had the pleasure of doing commentary for Fury Fighting Championship back in September, which I had a blast doing, man. Like, that was a fun night just to sit there on a Saturday night underneath the lights, just bantering back and forth, getting to pick your brain about the fights and what we're seeing right there. I mean, I've played back that broadcast a couple of times and just listened back. Like, it was awesome. Dude, it was an incredible experience.
Yeah, man, we killed it. And it makes it so much easier when you're with somebody that you enjoy talking with, and you had some great knowledge and about the fights, and I thought it was a lot of fun. I've called fights before, but it's not like I'm a vet at it or anything like that, but I'd love to do it again. Like I said, I get it. I think Jordan gets it. I think they're coming back in December.
It's being pushed into the first quarter of next year.
Okay, first quarter next year. Either way, would enjoy doing it again for them, and anybody. It's a good way to pass time and share some knowledge.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like I say, I feel like you have so much to offer. Just like you said, there's so much of those little just nuggets of wisdom that one can only get by going through it, if that makes sense. And you've gone through all that, especially if you're talking fighting under different banners and different promotions, to know, okay, these people do business this way, this is how they operate, this is how this goes. I mean, everything from the UFC to Bellator to Glory to everything all in that mix, you've had your name underneath. So I feel like you're just a wealth of knowledge and just an incredible resource for all these young guys out here.
I appreciate that, man. Absolutely, and that's another thing I want to start giving back a little bit more and sharing a little bit more of that knowledge. For the most part, I kind of stick to myself in a sense of like getting out there and doing a lot of. See, here's a thing about like Instagram and stuff that I've learned to get over. But the thing that turns me off most about the sport is the people talking and how they do this and that, and just kind of just being the bad pride, the arrogant, and when they haven't accomplished shit, man. And I remember it's gotten a little bit better, and the game, it is what it is, man. It's the game. But I remember just, several years ago being like, man, I don't even like this. You got these amateur guys that are ruin the sponsor game. Finding guys to go pay them money. Like a monthly sponsorship for an amateur. I've never had a monthly sponsorship ever in my entire career. I've accomplished some pretty cool stuff. I don't even have. I'm left out a CBD sponsor right now. So any CBD sponsors out there, man? Revivid, Hans. I'd love to hook up, dude. But the guys that hadn't really accomplished anything kind of ruined that for other guys. And now companies are paying money to these guys that some amateur they were hopeful for. But dude, guys they're not around. You know, so many guys I've came up with, and you know, buddies and not buddies that they're not around. You know, and I still am. And it's not that I've competed at a high level. Obviously, my goal of the UFC has not been put out there yet. You know, that's where everybody sees like the biggest fights, but I've been on a high level, man. I've been putting in my dues. I fought, and just want to get back, man. You know, and I want to give back too. I want to share some knowledge, and that's why I want to do this podcast. I want to start it a regular thing. I want to get more comfortable talking to people and sharing what I have, man, because just keep the mind moving, keep the mind working. Just try to be a better person myself, and it comes with wisdom, man. It comes with maturity. Just growing older and starting to appreciate things like the struggle a little bit more. So
definitely, you know, I'm sure it has to be something that kind of, you know, just is a thorn in the side to, you know, to a veteran like yourself too. You know, you mentioned kind of some of the frustrations with the new era with social media and all of that, in the sense that, you know, you come from the old school era of you show up and you fight. It doesn't matter who it is, it doesn't matter when, whatever. As long as you have a name and a date, you're showing up and you're competing. Doesn't goddamn matter what anything else is, as opposed to now, oh, well, you know, this guy isn't going to give me enough exposure if I fight him, or all this and that, the way that there tends to be a lot more, you know, that's a lot more prevalent in this day and age as opposed to what it was, you know, on the come up.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And it's a double-edged sword too, because look at my career, man. I'm a prime example of it. I turned pro in November 2010. By October 2011, I was in the UFC. People were like, wow, that's fast. Well, guess what? I fought every other month. And not only did I fight, Coach Fiore had me out fighting guys. My second pro fight, I fought a guy like 5-5. Okay, what to do? No big deal, but that's 10 pro fights. Mm-hmm. My third pro fight, I fought a guy like 12-8. Mm-hmm. Ryan Braun, shout out to Ryan Braun. Finished him in 55 seconds. My only submission ever. My fourth fight, I fought a guy 15-4 in Chicago. My fifth fight, I fight a guy 12-3, and I knocked him out in 37 seconds. And the guy before, I knocked him out in the second round. So I was fighting, I was being active, and I was beating these guys that were probably on the UFC's radar. You know, I'm 3-0. I'm fighting a guy 14-5. That's pro, man. You don't see that anymore.
Right.
You don't see that at all. You see people padding their records, and then when they get there, they're not ready.
Right.
When I got there, that's where it's kind of a contradiction, because I was ready, but I wasn't. It's like it was I don't know what it was, man. I've always been the guy to shine in the moment and live in the moment and thrive under pressure. I was a quarterback. I'm the guy that took the last second shot every time. I'm a clutch player. For whatever reason, man, fighting's different. I kind of know after being in the sport 10 years, right. But I was beating these guys like that. I didn't even think anything of them, but then I got to UFC. I'm like, oh my God, this is the UFC. Right. You know, I'm like walking on eggshells. Like, oh my God, I can't mess up. Mm-hmm. Am I really this good? I'd be in the workout room, and I was scared to work out watching like Michael Bisping and BJ Penn and Diaz work out. I'm like, fuck, man, do I really belong here? And I was asking myself that, and when you're asking yourself that, you don't belong there. Now, in my career, I belong there. I know I belong there. Give me somebody. I know I belong there, man. I've had shit ripped from me, and I've ripped it, you know? So, yeah, that was a little rant right there. Been on my soapbox here, just ramping, but I like it, man. I'm liking this, just getting out and talking.
I mean, the passion is clearly there. You know, especially that long in a game that is so draining, so taxing. You still have the passion to show up every day and get after it. And
what's the scary thing, and Coach just said it, man, I'm never going to lose that. I'm eventually going to need to, I'm really pumped. I've never been a public speaker. And I was pumped after the Pride speech I gave, because now I want to continue doing it. I want to get better. I want to help people grow, and I want to learn. I want them to learn from my mistakes and what I've done, and my accomplishments and my successes and failures. Learn from all of it. You know, I think that's what life's all about. that's why even having kids, man, like if I were to, eventually do, it's something that isn't even in the picture, but I want, a son or a daughter to help guide them and to give them everything that I never had. Even though I grew up very, I don't want to say privileged by any means, but I was well taken care of. I had a great foundation, my grandparents, my mother, my stepfather, my twin brother. We never went without anything, but that's what life's about, is to just completely give and show everything that you didn't have, or all the stuff that you didn't know. So that's what I want to. I've just been fired up since Tuesday. I want to just give back a little bit more and help people. Genuinely help people. Like I said, the passion's there, man. And these books too are helping as well, just to just keep the mind dialed in.
Mm-hmm. Now, you mentioned that there was a couple of things that you felt that you left out from your speech. What were those nuggets that you left out that you might want to get out there for someone to take something from?
Well, I think I've watched it a couple times. I hate the way it started. A quick shout out to Northwestern Mutual. I was talking about that event, and that event that they do that I never got to is so inspiring, man. It's like 4 hours long. There's a 20-minute break. That's all you get. But it's these guys sharing stories and just what I'm talking about, how I want to help others. And every time I'm there, it's like I could run through this wall, and I want to drop everything, and I want to be a Northwestern Mutual rep, and I want to sell life insurance to people, and I want to help them. But that's just kind of the event it is. I left that out. And on to the pride thing. I don't know. I think I was so hung up at the beginning. But the pride thing, man, the confidence, arrogance, man, it's I know I was giving examples of guys that you can tell are sincere about the bad pride, and that are really assholes. And I don't know, but it's kind of showing. I was going to use Colby Covington, another guy you see that's being real loud and real boastful. But you also see all of his teammates in American Top Team kind of talking shit to him. Like, who's this fucking guy? Like, nobody likes him anymore. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of a guy that's like sipping his own Kool-Aid, And so you can tell a difference in a guy like Charles Sonnen, who freaking did an awesome job and was loud. And you have to, because that's where pride is a double-edged sword as well. Because it's hard to put on Instagram and to shout and say how great you are, but to be humble. Mm-hmm. And it's hard to be humble but yet get the big fight that pays you millions. Right. And that's where I struggled so much, is I don't want to be that loud, boastful guy. I want to shut that guy up, even though I'm full of confidence. I don't know if there's anybody that has more confidence than me. But I'm not the bad pride type guy, and I pride myself in that. And I do talk shit. My buddies know me, dude. I am a shit talker, but they also know I love them, and it's all for fun, and it's get people riled up. Let's go, But it's a double-edged sword, man. It's hard to be that guy that opens his mouth like Chow did, and he did it so well, and he got so paid, but to yet be the humble guy and to be the nice guy. Mm-hmm. I that's the thing I wanted to touch on. That it's hard, man. It's so hard. But it's the game we play. It's just, you have to do it if you want paid. Or you can just shut people up and knock them out. I don't know, man. It's just hard. Yeah, it's a fine line.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I wanted to tell them as well, that, it's just a fine line between throwing it out there and staying humble. Because you got to throw it out there.
Right.
But you got to stay humble.
You're 100%
You know what?
right.
You don't got to stay humble, but I gotta stay humble. I want to stay humble, because
typically, though, if you don't, you find yourself in a bad situation. If you start smelling yourself too much in that.
Well, and
situation.
then another thing I wanted to touch on was the pride. The good pride is I represent my wife. I represent my family, my twin brother, my mom, my grandparents, where I come from, what they've taught me, my aunt, uncle. I represent all of them, and for me to go out and act a fool just throws shade on our whole name, and so I don't want to be like that. I don't want to be that way. So I have to stay humble. The other guys can do what they want to do.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Now, I want to pose this question to you, and I asked the same question to James Krause. If you could offer any bit of advice to the 0-0 Dustin Jacoby, what would that be?
Oh, man. would be to keep your head down and just grind, man, because along the way, it's good and bad, because along the way, especially early on, I was knocking people out devastating. Every fight was a knockout. Like, damn, Jacoby's just a knockout assassin. And you got all these people pulling you up and telling you how great you are, and how you can't be stopped, and how you're this, how you're that, which is so fucking, it's such bullshit, It's good to hear, but it's also bad to hear, because now you think you're invincible, and then at the same time you lose a couple fights, and you got these people like, this kid sucks. I got cut by the UFC. I was 0-2. I'm thinking, what the hell do I do? Hell, I just fought on because I didn't have any money. I needed some money. So what did I do? I chose my struggle. I didn't even know it at the time. Now looking back, and it's like I've chose this struggle. I've invested too much. So if you're gonna do it, keep your head down. And you gotta be laser beam focused, man. And it's so cliche, but what I truly mean is, the same people telling you you're great and the same people telling you you suck are both full of shit. You gotta keep that happy medium. If you lose a fight, okay, you got to just keep working hard, and you got to keep your confidence. You have to have bulletproof confidence and short-term memory. That's something as a quarterback that always stuck out to me. You have to be confident every freaking play, or you're not going to achieve what you're trying to achieve. But also, if you do something great, you got to forget it pretty quick, because the next play's coming, the next drive's coming. The other team just scored on you. Now you got to come back down and do the same thing. And when you throw a pick, you got to forget that too, because guess what? It's a new series. It's a new drive. It's time to go. And, man, I'm feeling good about this. Like, I want to coach, man. That's another thing I want to do. But what's weird is I don't really want to coach MMA. If I was to coach, I want to coach a sport. I'm so passionate about football, about sports in general. It's been my entire life. And so I kind of want to get into football coaching if I am going to coach. But, man, it's just this motivating person inside of me, and it's always been there. I've just always been, I just haven't been out and about it, and I want to take the next step, and I keep saying it, I want to be out there and just help a little bit more.
Kind of coming out of that proverbial shell to a certain
extent.
Yeah,
to a certain extent, man. I've never been like the shy guy by any means.
Right.
Anybody that knows me that, but at the same time, I've never had a lot to say when it comes to wisdom or I don't know, knowledge, or I don't want to say leadership, because I've always been a leader, man. I take pride in that as well. I've always been a natural-born leader. I really have. I've always made people around me do better. And that's why I love team sports. This is, it's weird, man. It's such a team sport. I love my teammates. I want to see them do good. I don't feel, I can honestly say that I've ever, maybe I have without knowing, but that I've ever elevated someone like I have on a basketball court or on a football field. I know for a fact I've elevated people to be better than they are, to play better than they have or had. I don't know if I've done that on the mats, truthfully speaking, but I know I've always been a leader.
I think you underestimate your influence.
And that's another thing, man. I think I do too. I really do. And which is another reason I kind of just swipe it under. But I'm trying to change that, man. I want to have more of a. I guess I've always had a positive influence, but I want to have more of an influence.
Which makes total sense that way, And I will have to say, I really think that you're underselling yourself in that regard, to the impact that you have to people, or what your reach may be. Because especially after you fought on that King of Sparta tournament, like, I had people in my inbox, Jacoby fought, especially after we put together those couple of videos.
Yeah, which thank you, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely, no problem. But your reach is 100% there. It's just maybe a thing of, sometimes when you're so close to the forest, you don't see the trees. So, you just maybe aren't even aware of it, just because, you are humble in that sense. Like, you're not very braggadocious in that sense to say, like, oh, yeah, I did this, all this. It's a thing of, there is an entire wave of these, freshmen and sophomores of the game that just look up to a Dustin Jacoby. that, you may not think because they don't come up to you or whatever, like, and talk to you or pick your brain all the time, that they're not observing or watching or learning. But that's kind of that same sort of concept that you were saying back in the day of, when you're in the room there with those Michael Bispings of the world, with those Diaz guys, you're now that guy to them. You're the guy who has the trophies up for being the tournament king, for all this stuff, just being a complete badass. And it could be, that they're all learning from, because like you say, you have a great personality, you're not a dick to anybody or anything in that regard for as accomplished as you are. But they can just pick and just watch you work, see the way that you are. So I think that, your reach is far beyond what you truly realize that it is.
I appreciate hearing that, man. It's humbling hearing that. Yeah, dude. So let's complete that reach. Let's fulfill that reach.
Yep.
That's what I'm trying to do. It's what I'm trying to be better of. And like I said, I've never been a strong public speaker or like really. I've just never been the type to hop on the platform and the stand up in front of everybody guy, which is it's kind of weird because I was the quarterback. I was used to getting guys to get on board and pumping the team up, and I think I'm much more of a lead by example guy, in a sense of I can keep my mouth shut. You'll see me there. When I'm there, I'm working hard. I'm trying to be first. I'm pushing everybody. I think just by dating back to like high school football, I felt like by leading people instead of screaming and yelling, be the first one sprinting, be the first guy that finishes the workout or what you got to do, man, and just help everybody along the way. And yeah, I want to reach that. Fulfill that reach.
So you just hit a nail on the head that just made a light bulb go off in my head that made me think of something that that I would be kicking myself if I forgot about before we had cut this off. So that whole doing stuff by example sort of thing, and people taking notice without you really being aware of it. Let's take a trip back to North Platte, Nebraska this last March.
Okay. I like it.
So, I
think I know where you're going with this. I love it. Go ahead. I think I know.
We're in the back room before Midwest Championship Fighting in North Platte, Nebraska in March. Dustin is set to make his comeback fight for MMA in the co-main event out there. And so Dustin's just going through his whole warm-up routine. And, he goes through what we call a walking series, just a dynamic warm-up routine. And then, so that alone kind of gets the eyes, of people looking like, oh shit, like this guy's going through like a full regimented routine warming up. And then, following from that is you starting to get loose a little bit in the warm-up cage that they had there. And, you just have your AirPods in, just, getting in your zone, just flowing, doing your thing. But you're teeping the post in this cage, and literally the whole fucking roof to this building is shaking, and everybody in this room but Dustin Jacoby is aware that this shit is going on. Like, you just hear boom, boom, boom. Then Coach Cruz was like, I'm not gonna fucking tell him that these guys are all looking at him, or I'm not gonna tell him that everybody's pissing down their leg at this point for this. I'm just gonna let him keep on going.
So, to elaborate on that a little bit more, man, it's the first time that we've ever warmed up. Let me back this up. To elaborate on that, by leading by example, I was fighting on a card with like 6 other Factory X guys, and all of them young. And I'm definitely the veteran. I feel like I don't feel like I'm any better because I'm on the same card, but I am the leader. I'm the guy that I'm like what am I doing here at this show? This guy, in my mind, this is my mind. This isn't me talking to people, but this is how I think in my confidence. I'm thinking, what am I doing here, man? Like, I'm gonna crush this kid. Like, this kid has no idea. I looked at my wife at weigh-ins, and I told her, I was like, I'm honestly gonna feel bad because at the time I was working a mean left high kick, and no doubt it would have been the knockout if he hadn't crumbled before. But I told my wife, actually, this is the first time I've ever, at my old age, man, I have a dog. He's like my son. And like, feel like I'm kind of getting soft. I'm like, dude, I'm going to hurt this guy. I'm going to hurt him. So we're there. It's the first time I've ever warmed up. We've all warmed up in the same room. It was like a big gym. There was a cage. I'll watch all my teammates are fighting. I'm thinking, and Austin is the main event. I'm the co-main event. So but I'm still the leader. I'm still the main man. I'm like, I got to show these guys how it goes down. And as my opponent's just sitting in the corner in the same warm-up room, like you said, I'm going through my walk-up series, and that's when I saw it. I felt the tide just like 90-0, 99-0 was, I'm sweating, and I got my AirPods in the whole time, my headphones. So, and I'm in my zone. I'm a guy that I put the hood on. I zone. I'm in my own head. That's why I'm a mirror guy. I look at myself in the mirror, and I don't have to tell you guys what I'm going to do. I look at myself and say, motherfucker, you better do this. That's another thing I left out in my speech is it's one thing that I don't want to tell you guys. I tell me. And I start warming up. I'm sweating, and I can just sense the energy of this guy like, oh, shit. Because I'm the only guy, like, this guy's just sitting here. I'm rolling sweat. Now we get into our warm-up, and I'm ripping pads. I rip pads, man. I kick hard. I hit hard. And, again, I have my headphones in, so I'm not really aware of the sound. But hearing these guys talk about this is so cool because I remember I was front kicking. My game plan was come out southpaw, hit the front kick, and then I was going to front kick the head kick. And it was going to be over. If he hadn't already kind of faked. And in my mind, I'm thinking, he's not going to want it. If I just... so now I start going soft. Here's my soft side. I'm like, if I just kick him in the body and punch him in the body, I think that he'll fold and act like it hurt more. Mm-hmm. I'll throw a couple and it'll be over. So then I'm thinking that too. But as I'm front kicking the post, apparently this cage is just rattling. I mean...
Not just the cage, bro. The roof.
The roof.
The roof. Like, you could hear it just... Because it was like, it was a steel roof, like, big warehouse type building.
Yeah, it was kind of a cool setup.
It was definitely a real cool setup. But the way that, however, all the load-bearing stuff, whatever it was in that section of the building, like, you could see, like, the rattle from the, like, those steel panels on the roof. And you could just hear, boom! Boom!
I completely unaware. I had my headphones in. I was completely unaware. But I was zoning, man. I was zoning. And to end the story, I'm sitting there, man, and I'm pacing the fight. The fight before us is just going. And this is my first fight in a minute. And like I said, man, the Hanyak's about to come out. The contracted killer. I'm like, have tears in my eyes. That's another thing I want to touch on, the emotion, too. But I get tears in my eyes, get kind of emotional. And I'm watching this guy just thinking, like, man, I got to hurt him. I got to do it. And he's coming, and I watch him, like, last minute, he's, like, pacing, and I could tell, like, he does not want this. And last minute, he just starts jogging. And I'm like, at first, I'm like, what's he doing? And then I'm like, he's going to take a piss. So I keep my eyes on him, and he's going, he's not watching me, and he kind of rounds the corner, dude, and it's almost like I don't want to call, let's call fucking an apple, man. It looked like his foot just flew into the door, and he just like crumpled down and kind of sat there and then just rolled. And you caught a photo of it. You caught it not even knowing probably because you were watching me warm up, and I was watching him, and he just fell. It's not like you knew this guy was going to fall.
No.
And I was just like, are you kidding me? And the first thing in my mind, because I'm human, I'm just like anybody else, my first thing was kind of a sense of relief, like, oh my God, I don't have to fight. Maybe he's going to be hurt, so I don't have to fight, Because so now I'm like thinking, okay, now, which is kind of mind-fucking if he would have fought. Even though I'm a veteran, man, that's another thing, maybe a young guy that would have really mind-fucked him. But myself, I'm like somewhat relieved, but then at the same time, I'm so pissed because I was told by PFL if I go get a quick win, if I go get an impressive win, which is going to be a head kick knockout, I could be in this year's PFL.
Right.
So that was going through my mind. I was kind of relieved I didn't have to fight, but then I'm fucking pissed because I needed to win. And it was just an emotional roller coaster. I think I had tears for like a second, like what the hell, and then whatever, man. I mean, that was the end of it. That was it. It was. I kind of got robbed though because going back to leading by example, I couldn't wait to go out there. It'd been the first time I've been fighting at such a high level, kind of on my own with Glory, that I was on a card full of teammates.
Right.
And that's where it comes to the team thing. Going back to what I said, elevating people, maybe I don't do it, and you said maybe I do, but I was thinking maybe I don't. But I felt like I did it more on a basketball court or a football field. That was the basketball court and football field. That was my time. I was gonna show these guys this is how it goes. I almost wish I would have fought first, just to show them like, hey man, this is how you do it. Watch me, because I'm about to go show you how it's done. And go out there and have fun and do it.
Yep. So
that's a cool story. Thanks for bringing that up, man. That's a memorable. I beat a guy via stair fall, but it doesn't go on the record. And I think I saw that guy fought like 3 months after that, and he won. Fought some other guy, but Yeah, dude, that's what it was. Matt Foster, I believe your name. By the way, Foster kind of gave Foster a bad name, even though he's black. My boy Brian Foster's white. I don't think there's a relation, but Foster's still a badass in my name, in my book.
True. Now, you mentioned on wanting to touch about the emotion that you go through.
Yeah, and it's another thing I picked up from the subtle art of not giving a fuck is the emotion. I'm a pretty emotional guy. I think you can tell it sometimes in my voice when I'm talking. I get nervous. Anytime I talk about my wife, I get emotional because that's who I represent. That's who I do it for. That's who I want to make proud. And so, but the emotion in the book, it says, you know who runs off emotions is 3-year-old children. And you know who run off emotion is dogs. And you know what both of them do? They shit on the carpet. And they just their whole lives are lived on emotion. When they're 1 minute they're mad, 1 minute they're pissed. And I'm an emotional person. I need to try to channel that and make that better. In a sense of, there's not a lot that like, you know, that really I get emotional, like pissed, I guess. But I am emotional, so yeah, I get happy, mad, sad, and try to not live so much on emotion. I used to think, and I still kind of do, that emotion was good. Like before a fight, if I get the tear in my eye, I know I'm ready. I'll never forget my second amateur fight. My twin brother, this badass, he was already fighting before me, and he was, you know, lost maybe like 1 or 2, but he won a lot. And I'm in the back doing on pace. It's my second amateur fight, and like tears are going down my face. My brother's not real emotional. I mean, he is, but at a hardcore different way. And he kind of looks at me. He's like, "What the fuck are you doing?" He's like, "Are you crying?" It's like, "Bro, I'm fucking pumped." I was like, "I'm just ready, man." Yeah. And I went out there and I knocked the guy out in like 41 seconds. I'm real good about remembering dates, times, scores, you know, shit like that. But I just remember that, man. I'm emotional. Like if there's a tear in the eye, I'm gonna fucking. I don't know if I'm gonna win, but I'm ready to kill. But this book and what I'm kind of learning is it's not such a good thing. Like I said, dogs, children, they're both emotional. They both shit on the carpet. Like, so I guess you just have to control the emotion and find out how you can. Yeah, my wife kind of calls me a softie sometimes because I get like soft or like emotional over stupid shit. But dude, I don't know if it's the passion, emotion, if it's I don't know what it is, man. I do have a big heart. My best buddies know, dude, I'm a goof. You know, but I mean, well, I love my friends, everybody. So, yeah, sorry, there's the emotional part getting out on you.
No, I mean, I love hearing all of that, you know, just because, like I say, I have a great deal of respect for you, and I've learned so much, like just in the little bits that we've talked, and just from watching you out there, and I think that it's a big thing too for anybody out there when you're respected by your peers. You know, when you're recognized by your peers, who gives a shit what the media says in a lot of ways, because a lot of times there's some sort of agenda or whatever in that capacity. The real measure of a man, especially when it comes to, you know, athletics and anything that's performance related, is who has the respect of their peers. And I mean, you're obviously that guy. So
I appreciate it, man. I really do, dude. Yep. I mean, it does mean a lot, man. And it's been awesome getting to know you and getting out on your platform and calling fights with you and just and humbling me too when hearing you say that and making me realize that, you know, there is more people that are watching and that are truly, like, you know, just curious, I guess, and want to know more and I want to give more. I want to be more about it. Shit, man. I wonder if we should turn this podcast into a weekly thing. But then again, I don't know. Let's hear your feedback. Sometimes I ramble. Sometimes I get on like a rambling, and by no means do I. Is it like me trying to persuade you one way or another? But I do ramble. I can tend to ramble on. So let me know, man. I mean, it's and I'd like to talk about stuff that people want to know and I'm going to make myself more knowledgeable, and I'm going to sharpen my own mind and be better about that, especially with these books. So that's my goal, to fulfill that reach and to not be so damn emotional.
Well, hey, depending on what all you folks out there say, and even whatever, I'm not opposed at all to having story time with Jacoby.
Let's do it, man. Because I've got tons of stories, especially in the fight game. My boy Brian Foster and the Hit Squad come to mind. It was such a short time spent together, but man, we went hard and we lived in the dorms. We were young, dude. It's crazy. Now I see. That's advice. More advice I'd give, dude. Is it goes quick, and I'm still trying to learn that because, man, where's the past 10 years gone? Where's the past 5 years gone? It goes fast, and it's kind of scary, but. Just trying to make the most of it, man. I want to continue trying to sharpen my mind and be a better person and just hit different peaks in my life, different things that need fixed and worked on, and yeah.
Definitely, man. Well, we've covered a lot, and this will for sure not be the only podcast that we do together. So I just want to say thank you to everybody out there who's followed us along and has kept up with the Comments from the Peanut Gallery project, and who's came along and has supported Dustin all along the way. I can't do what I do without the love and support of you guys. So it's something that I will forever be grateful for having the opportunity for. So thank you guys for following along. Thank you guys for giving me the opportunity. I really do appreciate it, man.
Yeah, man. Likewise.
Yes, sir. Thank you. So where can people follow you at?
Follow me out on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter too much. I kind of am, especially when it comes to fights. The fights are pretty much the only thing I do with Twitter with. I'll give my 2 cents every now and then on the big fights. Instagram at the Hanyak DJ. I don't know. I don't try to post too much. Another reason I created... Follow my dog, man. Dak Attack, man. It's another reason, but I created Instagram for him because I'm weird about that shit. I'm weird about... I didn't want to blow my Instagram up with my dog because I didn't want to be that annoying dog dad. And people don't want to see that shit. And then I become less interesting. So you know what? I made an Instagram for my dog, who's super fucking cool. And... opening season Pheasant starts Saturday. Can't wait. It'll be our 3rd year out together. He's not even 2.5 years old. So super pumped about that. The guy's a G. Has his own Instagram, so I post his shit on there. I'm the Hanyak DJ. He's Dak Attack Man. I'm on Facebook, but again, I don't share that much on Facebook anymore. I used to. I do love Facebook in a sense that I've had it for so long now. Hell, Facebook was around Facebook started when I was a freshman in college. The summer before I went to college, is when Facebook, you had to have a college ID or a college email, and it's just completely different. But that's where my first platform, and it was awesome. And I love looking back every single day on the memories to see what I said, who I was in 2008, and another cool thing, it's always been positive. I mean, it really has. I haven't posted... I'm not a big negative poster. Like, no one wants to see that shit. Spread cool shit, positive shit. But again, it's a fine line because sometimes this guy's saying too much shit. This guy's too great or something, whatever. But yeah, I'm on Facebook, not that much. But I do enjoy it. But yeah, mainly Instagram, especially for the career. And other than that, you can catch me on the flip side, yo.
Alrighty, well, this is the Comments from the Peanut Gallery podcast. You can follow us at Comments from the Peanut Gallery on Instagram, at Peanut Podcast on Twitter. Give us a subscribe, like, follow, and we'll be coming to you next time.
Hey, quick shout out, Coon Dog. Get that podcast started, man. I just beat you to the punch. I hope you're watching. I know you probably will, but you better watch to the end, and now I'm going to make you. So get yours going, man. Let's go back and forth on some topics.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys very much.
Bro.
Thank you, brother.